Hey guys, welcome to Let Me Tell You. This is our second episode. We're super excited. We hope you got a chance to check out our pilot. If not, it's okay. You're here now, and that's all that matters. We do come with a disclaimer.
Let me tell you, we sure do come up with a disclaimer. Again, we're not professionals. These are just experiences that we have lived through and that we want to share. Maybe you can relate. And if you can relate, please let us know in the comments. But again, these are reflections. These are things that, we went through and, hope that you can relate again, but first and foremost, we definitely want to start with the shout out. So shout out to
our father upstairs. We're alive. We're here. And, we have a door to reach out to others. So for that, we're very grateful.
Yes, we are. Second, we want to give a shout out to our homegirl, Beatrice.
Yes.
She definitely helped us get the ball moving with our podcast and guiding us in the right direction. So a big, huge shout out to you, homegirl. Thank you so much.
Yes.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, because we had no idea where to start. Equipment, do you guys know how hard it is to start a podcast? Because we're still learning.
Over our heads, but we're here because it was something that we wanted to cope with, which is the topic of our second episode is coping with the uncontrollable. We're going to share again stories that have affected us, how we used to cope with it in the past, and how we're coping it with it in the future now.
Yes, and oftentimes I feel like, myself as a woman, I feel as a mom too, I feel like I need to be able to control my environment, right? I'm able to control what I'm able to do, and it's very overwhelming. I have suffered from depression, anxiety in the past because I did not know how to cope with the uncontrollable. And again, we want to emphasize, this is based on experiences that we have gone through. So like I mentioned, I did suffer from anxiety. I want to say about, thank God I can't even remember. It's that long. But ways that I realized was just stressing, right? And then I ended up even trying medication. But right from the get-go, I knew that was not the way. How did you cope with that?
I think first coping, and a lot of people don't realize it, comes really down to your upbringing, right? So if I can reflect back, even getting hurt, stop crying right now.
Yes.
And you injure yourself or you broke a bone, and the first thing is stop crying or suck it up. You're a big woman, you're a big girl. Big girls don't cry.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, go.
Or it would be well, what did you do? It wasn't even are you okay?
Let me help you out, mija. No, what did you do? What did you break? And I'm going to...
I told you not to do. So you're so right, because we were conditioned I can't make a mistake, or I can't do this, or no, I don't want to tell mom because mom or dad is going to get mad.
It was scary.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm going to get even hurt more by telling my parent than I already am. So I might as well just hold on to my broken arm.
But you know what? That's such a good point that you made, because I remember my mom telling me stories about when she was little, and her sister, she had this pretty dress. By the way, you look so beautiful today.
You do too. I wanted to say that too, but I was like, is that too much? No, it's not. You look absolutely gorgeous, sister.
Thank you, love. But my mom was telling me that her sister, grandma had bought her a new dress, and they told her stop playing around, stop climbing the tree, and this and that. And then grandma took a nap, and my tia flew off the tree, ripped her dress, ate it, and then grandma wakes up and she got a beating.
She's like, the dress is the dress okay? Not the baby. Is the dress okay?
So true. So it's such a great point that you made, because yes, we are conditioned. We become so used to coping that way because that's how our parents were raised, and so far. I read a book where it talks about how we need to learn to forgive our parents because they didn't know, that's how they were coping. And maybe that was not the right way to do it, but they didn't know any better. They didn't know anything
We
else.
have to break some of these traditional things that were passed down to us that were not okay. And it's because, again, we were conditioned and to cope in this way because our first teachers are our parents. Yes. And we don't realize it. We always say we don't want to lick our parents. And I know I already said that, but it's true, So that was one way of coping was, okay, I gotta just keep it to myself. I'm not gonna tell anyone.
Yes.
And then, especially in like adolescence, that's hard to like try to tell people like I feel heartbroken, and they're like, ha ha, and you're like,
Yes.
I don't know if I'm gonna get made fun of, or is someone else going? Is something wrong with me? So then you keep it to yourself. So growing up, I kept everything a lot to myself, which is not good. People, you got to talk to someone. And again, that's the next thing I was going to write is resources like a friend, but not just any friend. It has to be someone who's going to really tell you when you're, poop stinks and when you're not doing okay and when the things you should not be doing. And even though it feels horrible to hear those from your friend because you want them to agree with everything, it's what you need.
Yes, and it comes back again to what we are familiar with. This is such a great topic because we just talked about this in book club with my colleagues. You go back to comfort. You go back to what it's familiar to you, and sometimes the truth hurts. Let's be honest. The truth hurts, especially when you're causing things to not go the right way in your life, And I think we've had that experience where like we do something and then we have a friend that checks us, in a loving way. See, that's another thing. How we express ourselves, and I'm learning that through Bible study too.
Tone is everything. Tone, attitude,
and love. I was just learning that through Bible study how like Jesus he came with authority, but he said it with love. He didn't come here and judge you. And, well, why the heck are you doing this? Like, what's wrong with you? As a parent, I've made that mistake.
As a friend, as a person, I've made that mistake. As an individual,
as a partner, I've made that mistake where, it's crazy as human beings, we feel like we could judge at times. And no, we're nobody to judge, but, come from a loving way because it is an effective way of communication. Because try to remember, like, I had this with my mom, like she would constantly reprimand me. I know it came out of love. I know she was wanting to do what's best for me. And we're so stubborn, necio, uno no hace caso.
Especially when it's coming from a parent. It's like we block them off.
It's because on default, like, you don't know what I'm going through.
My friends know everything.
Yes, and that comes to the point where you said, like, we really need to evaluate who's in your circle, who is talking to you, because there are friends that honestly, sometimes they get happy that you're going through a trial. Something bad happens and it sucks. It's sad. But I had friends like that too. The little haters,
There's a hater everywhere. And they're usually the closest ones within your group.
You have to be careful, So definitely like evaluating who is talking to you. Who are you going seeking advice? Because sometimes we're going to people that they're just going to tell us what we want to hear. Kind of like what
and
you just
see,
said.
that's why it was another reason I would stay quiet is that am I going to be judged? Maybe you haven't gone through. I know what the right answer is. I'm not telling you so you can tell me what I already know. It's almost como que me estoy desahogando, which is like I'm letting it go. I just need to vent to someone. And, no one ever talked about therapy growing up. No, God forbid. Nobody's gonna go to that.
¿Qué es eso? ¿Estás loca?
Con una chinga te lo quito with the beating. I'll take it away. Excuse me, no. But that's why I especially I feel like in the Latino community, people a lot of keep the feelings inside, and then sometimes it's too late. We get sick, and feelings cause sickness. People listen to that and feel it. Especially I wrote here something that we all go through breakups, and like just heartache. Feeling it, just cry if you need to, be sad. You have to go through the stages. That's something I realized that time is your best friend and also your enemy.
Yeah, it depends how you use it. Like you could use it to an advantage or to a disadvantage. And also in my experience is so you keep it to yourself. So now you're not addressing it. You're not talking about it. You're
like pushing it in the back. You're like, maybe it'll go away.
Yes, you throw it under the rug. Trust me, it doesn't matter how deep you bury that comes, and there's triggers in one little instant and second, it comes out.
And it can affect your future relationships with your children, with your partners. I realize that, it's, you can't move on, even though you're moving on with the partners, like they'll come back. So you have to deal with it, and you kind of have to, go through the motions.
Yes, feel the emotions, even though, some of us we were taught not to, not to do that. And also I have teenagers, and this is, as a parent, it kind of scares me because, when you don't deal with that, then you find ways to let go of that, right? You find an outlet. That outlet could lead to
To
drugs,
partying too
drugs,
much,
drinking, sex,
getting in
and you know
trouble.
what? Not even as a teenager, like, and as an adult, if we don't learn, like, we find ways to cope with this pain or whatever, anger, whatever we're going through, and then guess what? Now, like, you're digging a deeper hole, and it's scary because then you create bad habits. Here comes addiction, and then
It costs a lot of things, and
yes,
God forbid it could cost your life. But there's a lot of things that when people don't know how to cope with things could lead. Not everybody's headstrong. Not everybody is, oh, I got this. There's people that it leads to bad habits, to drugs, and that's why it's important to talk to people, talk to someone, talk to a stranger. That's why, again, we created this podcast so that if you don't feel like you can talk to someone, hey, log in here, log on here, comment us, we'll comment back, and it's about feeling heard. I think it's also about feeling seen. Do you see me? I have a bad tendency that when people are telling me a story, I like to relate to them. I'm like, oh yeah, I had a story. But sometimes I find that it could be almost discrediting their feelings or not validating them. And it's not my intention whatsoever. So you got to let people feel it. You got to even do you want my opinion? No, I don't. Got it. Stay quiet. Do you want to just me to listen? I can do that as well, and I think when you have that sort of circle, it feels good, and sometimes it's too late for people,
Yeah, because again, on all of that, you end up in a dark place, and you could be surrounded by friends, you could be surrounded with, could be at a party, you could do all this stuff, but deep down, you're isolated, I mean, look what happened during the pandemic, girl. Like, it's how many, like, the suicide rate, like, skyrocketed.
And that was the next thing I wanted to talk about, the pandemic. How
Yes.
did people cope with that? I mean, I was by myself, just with a cat and a dog, So you're like, okay, how am I going to do this? So shout out to Goliath and Wednesday, my babies, who helped me cope through the pandemic. But I think it made a lot of people realize family, how important it is, not being able to touch people, not being able to see them, having these restrictions, I think it made people realize, and I really believe that God made it for us to stop. It needed, like, if we were not going to stop, God said, fine, I'll reset you and I'll make it reset, and it helped me, then I started exercising. So then when I started exercising, I started walking with Wendy. We used to go hiking. We love to go hiking everywhere in LA. And then after that, she started talking to me about God. So I started listening, in a different way, not in a way that I used to hear it before, where I was like, no, I feel like you're priving on me, or I feel like you're telling me. I really started listening. And then, I got baptized in 2020 on Christmas. And after that, now I go to God first.
Yes.
Where you never was him first. It was everything backwards, everything disorganized. And again, this are my experiences. I'm not here to like preach. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm just letting you know what has gone in my life and where I'm at, because I think that's important, to be able to see someone relate to someone. So,
and that's when we surrender. That's when we surrender, our fears, everything, all of our flaws. Nobody's perfect. We all have issues one way or another.
We're all broken.
But
we're all broken.
And then I've shared this with you, I had, God finds way, Jesus finds way to send you little messengers to knock on your door. But at the end of the day, we have free will, and, he doesn't want anyone to come force, it's like that heart needs to open, And for my experience I was tired of fighting all these battles, things I could not control, which comes down to, today's talk, right? I was tired, of trying to battle everything and everyone, thinking, oh, I'm strong. Well, I got this. I could get through this. No, because all those
or I've been telling everyone that I'm strong and I need to keep this facade. I cannot not cry because I already tell people I'm strong, independent.
Yes, and it's okay to be vulnerable in the right way. And that's where, and I like to quote this verse from the Bible, John 16:33. It says, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace in this world. You will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world, and that brings like so much relief because there's so many bad decisions, that we could make when we don't have our heart in him, when we don't open our heart to him. And, that, like I told you, it goes back to so many people, like we go to, like you said, we go through breakups, we go through whatever situation, and we turn to drugs, we turn to any like addictions, it could be gambling, it could be adultery.
I didn't even so you mentioned depression, and sometimes you don't realize you're depressed. It can be, especially during the pandemic, I found myself working from home, which was my room, and then going to the living room, wearing the same thing, in and out, and like it was clockwork. Like I will work really late, wake up really early, but that's all I did. And then I was like, wait a minute, I think I'm depressed. Like I'm in a cycle that is not okay. I'm not talking to anyone. I'm like secluded. I need some sunlight, and you don't realize it.
And then and that must have been so hard because you were by yourself,
And you don't know because you're like, oh, I'm working. I'm being productive, and I'm cleaning, and I'm doing. So I felt like I was doing something, but it was not.
But there's
good
like
for
a
me.
void. There's like something, a missing piece, And then, see, my scenario, it was the opposite. Because I got the kids, I got the dogs, I got my dad, I got my husband. And it got to a point where we were like getting on each other's nerves. The walls started caving in, You know what? The first few weeks, it was all fun, right? I don't got to get up. I don't got to drive. I'm home. It was fun, nice and dandy.
Organize the nails in the shed.
Yes, we find so pretty, but you know what? That could only last so long, and that's a whole nother episode about what went down. And oh my goodness, can you believe it's been 3 years? But
it has.
Anyway, so my scenario was different. I was overwhelmed. There was like so much going on, and then with technology now, everybody's hooked on their phones, and it comes to a point where you gotta start questioning, like okay, is this life? Is this how it's going to be? And then I had a lot of self-reflection. And those hikes, honestly, Elvie, were like life-saving, I think, because it made me, that was my time to like meditate on the word and pray. And also a big shout out to our fellow brother, Jarrett, always sending us verses and encouragement.
Every single day. He also has an Instagram as well if you want to join in the comfort of your own home, which I love.
Yes. And that helped too, because again, there were so many things that we weren't speaking. And sometimes, as much as communication you could have like with your family members, with your partners, with your friends, we talked about this last week, it came to a point where we didn't even reach out, right? We weren't reaching out.
We were, strangers.
And then finally we were like, you know what? I'm done with this thing. Like I'm going to the beach, and I don't know.
It was a point where I was like washing my groceries. It was crazy. It was just insane. But yeah, it got to a point where like, okay, if I can't get it at Target, then I'm not gonna get it over here. So again, crazy times when the world stopped.
Yeah, but you know what? That was I think a lot of people reevaluated their decisions, life. For us, I'm 36. So, you start thinking like, shoot, I'm going to be like 10 years. I'm going to be almost 50. I'm like, but you know what? I used to think that's scary, but no, that I pray to the Lord we get to make it to, to that age. But yeah, just reevaluating like where am I going, and how am I dealing with this, and who is here to help me. And sometimes there's nobody there. Maybe that's you. Maybe you don't have someone, that you could rely on or you could go to, but just remember we have Jesus, and then he's only a page away.
Yes. And you can be in your own room, the comfort of your own room. But I think, again, I'm getting like deja vu for some reason, but you're right. Like even this right here, us talking, that really helped us so much. Just being each other's therapists, even though we're not therapists. We are not therapists, but we talking to each other, kind of like, oh my God, you were going to the same thing? Me too. I thought it was just me, and then you feel like, okay,
well,
I'm not alone.
The inception of this podcast. because we had so much to say, and at the time I think we still have friends that they're still afraid, living in fear of what's going on in the world, and they've secluded themselves, then we haven't even seen them, you know. And I mean, obviously we're not gonna be like, get out of your house.
Yeah, and we're
But
not gonna invade your space, you know. So if you can't see us, maybe you can see us through here. Hi.
yes.
But no, I hear you. I mean, I think we talked about, you know, friends. We talked about
Ooh,
exercise.
well, for us was the hiking. You know, maybe for
Yes.
you is I love home exercising videos.
And you know what? They don't talk about that in Latino culture. They don't tell you to exercise until you go to PE. Shout out to my friend Egon. We're gonna, you know, bring you onto the podcast so you can show us some moves in your. He's a physical therapist. Show us what workouts work best for us.
I have a bad back, so I need to find out the appropriate exercise. Dude, I was taking a shower. I was just trying to like get out of the shower, and then I moved a certain way, and I was like, something cracked.
You're like, oh, call 911 right now. You're like,
Yes, but you know, so you know, exercising, you know, that's a nice way to like you know, replace something else that maybe you don't want to. Reading, you know,
eating right, not just eating because you're sad, because I've been guilty for that. Eating the right things really
eating.
does help. It really helps the mind. I mean, you can feel it, especially if you're, you know, cutting sugar. That really helps with the thought process, with clearing your mind, you know, thinking. Again, hiking, I like it because I don't like it because I don't like going to the gym. I don't like being uncomfortable. People check you out. Like, I'm here to lose weight, not to like be pageant and like fight for a machine. Like, okay, got it.
I don't think with me it's just I don't like being like in one place. You know,
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're just like in like the treadmill. I guess it's different for everybody.
Everybody
you know?
has a good routine. If you got a routine, shout out if you go to the gym. No hating on the gym. No hating on the hiking. I just like hiking because it's a scenery. I'm just breathing so that I don't pass out. You know, by the time that I'm like, oh, I'm already at the top. There goes the
Remember-
time.
Oh, I love that because I think we had so many deep conversations during those hikes. We'd be like out of breath, taking breaks too. Because I don't know how some people could be talking the whole time they're hiking. I'm like, girl,
Running and talking, yo, that's some skill.
I'm like, no, I can't do that.
Stop talking to me right now.
I'm like, I'm the type, and I think that's why, like, I mean, we've been friends for so long. Like, I'm so comfortable just being quiet. Like, we don't have to talk, you know? Like, okay, we got this, and, you know, let's get to the top, and then, okay, we'll unload.
If you ever go hiking with me, they call me Chispita because I'll just like take off. One day, one of our
gone.
friends went hiking with us. I left her behind.
Well,
Beatrice, and left her behind, and good thing Donald and Wendy were there because they got her on the trail, and she's like, you left me. You just left me behind. So I'll leave breadcrumbs if you go hiking with me.
I need to put a chip on you. Where's Elvie? Yes, but you mentioned food, and I've actually read that before too. How, you know, like having like cleansing yourself from like the sugars and the carbs and all this
Processed
stuff,
food.
it like brings you like clarity, you know, and because even food is addictive. You know, like we're talking about like drugs and smoking. This
Hot Cheetos. That's
no, it's true, you know. So even like fasting, you know, like I know that even fasting, you know, like with prayer, you know, I mean, God is so powerful, you know. Prayer is powerful.
You know, I think I told you I was talking to one of my coworkers, and he's like, oh, I'm fasting to my church. And I was like, that's so amazing. You know, he's like, I need clarity and I'm fasting. I was like, that is so amazing. You know, and I think, you know, the more I get closer to God,
Yeah.
the more I learn that. And again, so.
And also and then it helps you, for my experience, value, you know, aunque sea un pedazo de pan, you know, you get to value. Imagine not being able to have that, you know. So I've learned, you know, I've learned my good lessons from that, you know, like, and you know, and it really comes down to slowing down. Like slow down, and like you mentioned, you know, facing your emotions, acknowledging like, hey, I feel like this. Sometimes you're thinking, you're like thinking about it, you're feeling it, but you don't voice it. Even
Or you're
saying it
trying
out
to
loud.
stay busy so that you're like, I'm not gonna feel it, or let me not go through the emotions of feeling sad, or I want to cry. No, I'm okay. Let me go through my day, and then maybe it gets to a point where you just break down out of nowhere, or it's too late.
A journal, simple as writing something down, you know, like like to just let it out. You gotta let it out.
You gotta let it out somehow. You have to find a avenue that's healthy, That's good. Even it's for you that you know, but I heard journaling is super amazing. Yeah, like it just lets all your emotions, you can go back to it.
Well, think about it. I used to have my diaries when I was little, my dear diary with
Yes.
a little lock.
Gotta hide it everywhere because either the sister or the mom.
Well, I don't have that issue. But I used to have a diary, and then it's funny because my kid, like, they read them now, and they think it's hilarious. The things that I'm like, no filter. See, and that's the thing about it. As a young kid,
I'd be so embarrassed if my kids read my journal.
well, thank God, it's like it was I was very young, so there's nothing too crazy in there.
You were so innocent.
But you know what I like about that and God talks about that too, being childlike, having faith, like, like and that says not be childish, be childlike, because something about being little, I was very free spirited. I didn't overthink, no filters, and you
No
put it
judgment. If we saw, and they say it's good to be around kids sometimes because you see life through them. You know what I mean? You don't try to correct them or stop doing that. Why? Like maybe, they're making a mess according to you, but they're playing with pots. They're working on their creativity, and if we looked at the world still like children, we wouldn't be judgmental. We would tell
creative, maybe.
Yes, we would tell you how it is without trying to hurt your feelings. We're just telling you how it is. Like they don't match or like something like that. Because that happened to me. That happened to me when I was with my niece. We went out and she's like, "You look beautiful, but that don't match." And I was like, "You know what? Who else is gonna tell me like that, right? But a child and tell me the realness." But yeah, no, I agree.
Being real with yourself. We have to come, and that's actually I have a list of an article I was reading about the things when dealing with uncontrollable situations. Number one, it says identify what you can control and what you can't. Letting go. It comes back to that. Like there's things where you're gonna be able to change. In a situation, if you don't like a situation, self-reflect. Okay, what can I control from here? And honestly, at the end of the day, the only person you're going to be able to control is yourself.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So in that environment, it's not going to change unless you make a change. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's when it comes to identifying what you can control, which honestly, in a lot of occasions, is going to be ourselves, right? Number two, address what you can control, but how's your attitude towards it?
Is it negative? Is it upsetting? Is it, because I've been there, trust me. I'm a very emotional person. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Yes. And when things don't go right, it's like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. I can't believe this. It happened. And I'm so focused on what is wrong instead of what's possible.
Yes.
And, and I can't control what already happened. It already happened, So how do you now, is there a solution? And that's something that someone told me. If there's a solution, go through the emotions, but okay, understand that don't go crazy and just be like, okay, there is a solution to this problem.
Yes. And then, obviously we, like I said, we deal with it, but don't get like drowned by it, because having emotions is a good thing, but letting the emotions control you, that's
because then you get sick, like I mentioned, emotions.
My dad always used to tell me that, like, no te enojes, Wendy, don't get mad. He's like, te vas a enfermar. And I default, okay, Dad, okay, yo ya sé. But as I'm getting older, I'm like, oh, heck no. Like, I need to learn to control this.
Let me count to 10 before I deal with you.
And then as a parent, I'm like, okay, what am I teaching my kids how to cope with stress? You know what I mean? And now because kids don't do what you tell them to do, they do what they see, And I was a teen mom, so it's been a long journey learning and how to do this.
And I'm just taking notes.
Number 3, it says surrender what you cannot control. Your fears, your anxieties, all these things that we bottle up, or again, it goes back to the emotions, So just in my ways now was through the Lord, I've learned, what, Lord, this is out of my hand. I cannot control this. I need to stop trying to control this, and I surrender and I give it to you.
What is the lesson? You always ask, what is the lesson here?
Yeah, because oftentimes we find ourselves, why is this happening to me?
Why me? Yes, I
don't deserve this.
Exactly. What did I do?
With that entitlement, I'm sorry, but that's when, like, our ego, that's our ego and our pride, están llorando. Like, why did this happen? No. What can I learn from the situation, and how can I grow from the situation? Because we're either going to break or we're going to grow. you know, and that's a decision that, you know, you have to make yourself. We got to make ourselves, you know. Number 4, it says, you know, meditate on the promises of our faithful Father. You know, that's been, you know, with me, you know, like there's so many promises over and over. He tells you he never forsakes his children. You're never alone. He's always there through the storm, through the fire. He is with me. And that has brought so much comfort. You know me, I was such an anxious person. I took myself to the ER thinking I was dying like 4 times. I thought I was dying like 10 times in 4 months.
True story.
No, honestly, you know, like, and it was horrible because I was suffering from panic attacks. I don't know if any of you have ever suffered one. It's horrible because mentally you think
You're
are
drowning.
dying.
Yes.
I remember I used to have like neck pain and my left arm went numb and it was hurting. And at the time I had a friend, she was working with a cardiologist. I don't know how many times I called her, be like, dude, I think I'm having a heart attack.
And you're like, I just Googled the thing you're not supposed to do. And it says all the symptoms of a heart attack. Call 911.
I had my dad one time. I remember I wasn't driving at the time. So he went to pick me up at work. And in the middle on the way home, I'm like, Dad, take me to the ER. I even texted all my passwords, my bank account passwords and all of that to my husband. And he's like, what, Wendy, what's this? In case I die. You have access.
She said, in case I die, here's my will, has everything. Okay.
But then, you know, and then it was crazy. So if you're going through this, please know, like anxiety, I understand. Some people dismiss it. Some people think, oh, you know what? It's all in your head. It's only this.
Upbringings. Yes.
You know,
suck it up.
But
Suck it up.
But someone who has gone through this, it's a very dark place to be in because you literally believe and you start living these lies. You honestly, and anxiety and depression, they go hand in hand. You know,
Misery likes company, they said.
It does. And like you said, I didn't even know I had depression. I didn't know. I never went to anyone. I didn't go to I had to pay my bills. I didn't have time. I got little kids. We had just bought a new house. So
which is another problem with this,
you know,
healthcare.
Yeah. You know, and so like now looking back, I realized, you know, how I was coping with it. I guess I didn't, you know, like I didn't turn to like substances. I didn't turn to those things, but my body started attacking itself, I feel. Because here I was thinking, I was dying, thinking like, you know, like this is my life. Like this is how, and I remember it happened. I was reading a book and I was in the bus and I just had this feeling where I was like, I can't breathe. That was my thing. I felt like I couldn't breathe for like 4 months. It was horrible. Like, and then, well, I learned through breathing exercises. So I started researching because I was like, there's no way I could live like this. Like I can't. My kids are little. Whatever, you know, my
and there's a lot of groups up there now, especially now with technology that you can talk to, join, walk, whatever your comfort level is. There's so many groups out there. Yes, so many resources. Mental health is real, you know, and just people sometimes avoid it, or again, they don't talk about it. But there's a lot.
You know, depending how, like you said, we were raised, like, oh, you know, like you're fine. You're fine.
Con un cintarazo te lo quito. Oh, what?
But see, like addressing it. So, you know, it's feeling it, addressing it, identifying it, and letting go. You know, letting go. Like it says, choose a letting go model. You know, like what?
Don't play.
You know what? Because now I realize it now. Like, I went. Okay, so I got over it. I was able to control it. Thank God. But then I had triggers. I had triggers where like maybe someone says something to you, or maybe a certain situation reminds you, and then the panic attacks will come. It came to a point where I realized when I would talk about it, even saying the word anxiety, like I would start feeling that pressure on my chest, and then learning to control it. Like, no, like girl, you're tripping. Like, no, you're fine. Like, okay, let's distract ourselves, like turn on the radio. With me, it's like dancing, exercise,
music.
That helped me a lot, but hey, I've also gone to situations where I thought, partying every weekend, drinking every weekend, that's gonna make the problems go away. No, but you know what? Like, I thank God that, I've always, in a way, I guess he's always been there, even though I was rejecting him. And that's not my purpose. And we all have a purpose.
Yes, we do.
We all have a purpose. They said the saddest place where all the dead dreams are is in cemetery. Because oftentimes a lot of people don't find their purpose.
Oh, they are scared. They're fearful of the unknown, of whatever. Just try it. Do it.
Uncontrollable. You know,
Yes.
that fear or whatever it is, insecurities, it stops you from your
That's why people
potential.
be kind. It costs absolutely nothing to be kind.
Yes, too. And then, and always, you know what? Like, I feel like I tell all my friends, hey, girl, like, you're going through something, call me. It's so easy to say, like, I'm just a call away. I'm like, I'm very nurturing. I'm very
Yes, she
nurturing.
is.
I love to help, and I always like to lend an ear. But I realize that even when I do say that, sometimes you guys don't call.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes with. I mean, I'm the type of friend that I'll go MIA, but if you need me, I'll be there.
Yes.
And but again, I think I don't want to bother people with my problems or what are they gonna say or but real friends are gonna be there for you and they're gonna want to hear you. That's why again, why we're having this conversation is that there's someone out there who can listen to you, even a complete stranger. There's programs, there's professional help, there's groups that you can call to talk to so that you don't feel like you're by yourself or you feel alone. That's the last thing. You're not alone. You're loved. You're beautiful. God created you for a purpose, so just know that.
And like you said, as a friend, being kind, it's good to say those things to your friends. Hey, like, I love you, girl. I care about you. I love you. I mean, like, we have come to even because we have our little fights, we have our little disagreements.
We're not perfect,
and I love that, and I love that, and I appreciate you so much, because we need that too. Like we said at the beginning, we need that too. But even like sometimes, and they say if somebody comes to your head, pray for them and reach out. You never know. You never know, like, if that person's going through something. Maybe on social media they look happy, but you never know.
Or maybe you're answering some of their blessings. That's what I'm saying. Be kind. And if you can share your love, your wealth, that you have something, do so. You don't know who you're helping. Something that I read is that you never know if you're answering someone's prayer, And so be kind and, respect each other, share the love, because this world is already crazy as it is. There's so much going on, and there's things or like traumas or something that could maybe change the course of your life. And you wanted to go for the right thing. So like, hey, I learned from this versus, oh, I went down the bad path, and that's why we wanted to talk about it, because we've seen it. We've seen people go to the bad path. We've seen people, choose the wrong things because they felt lonely, felt like that nobody was there, So, there's people out there that love you.
And traumas. You said traumas. And then, sometimes subconsciously we bury those. Like we don't even think that event made an impact in our life. And I'm sure it did. And that just kind of shaped like how you coped and the decisions.
How you think, yes.
And I mean, it's just, as human beings, we're like, we make things so complicated, but like the emotions and everything. But just like realizing that you're not alone, and come on, guys, we're in an age right now where there's just everything you could find online, resources, you could, people, or sometimes, like building that courage to say, like I said, even saying it to yourself, like, hey, look at yourself in the mirror, like, I don't like what I see. Like,
why don't I like what I see?
There has to be, because sometimes we're so used to pointing fingers at everything and everyone. Well, because of you, I'm like doing this,
or because of that,
or because of this happened to me. I'm sorry, but that just become excuses. It becomes excuses, justifications for whatever we continue. But remember, you're you're in control of yourself. And that's and that, trust me, it helps a lot once you realize that, and the power that you have, to make
accountability is important. Accountability equals responsibility.
Oh, we all. I mean, shoot. Well, I had to learn that at a young age, but
even we're still learning. Okay.
And then another step. It says resolve, not to act on fears or on angers, but on faith. Because out of fear,
I wish I knew that a long time ago.
Yeah, you know what? And we're gonna have a part 2 to this, because we're gonna back on what we're saying this onto our childhood, and like maybe like looking back, what is something that you would tell yourself, fear. Like I feel like even now there's certain fears that stop me from like taking action, and when we don't act, then that's stagnation.
This is a good example. We planned to do this podcast back in 2021, okay?
August 2021.
But I don't know what we were afraid of, but we were scared, and we admitted it, and then we had this conversation, and we're like, look, that's an episode right there. Doesn't it feel so
I think
good?
what we did, it was like a little demo, remember?
Yes.
Like, okay, like we set up the earphones and everything, and then we're like, you know what? Like, girl, just hit a record and okay, let's just talk. And we're like, oh my God, Elvie, like, we're overthinking this whole thing.
Way too much. Like, you need to be you. People are going to like you for you no matter what. So let it come from the heart, because people know when you're not genuine. People can feel that you're being fake, and we want you to know that we're real.
Yes, because, like I said, on social media, and I'm guilty of that, we only post like happy things, right? Oh, I'm on this trip, vacation, I'm doing this. And
like, you don't even know I got a leak on New Year's Day on the roof. Like, it's crazy.
Fight with my kids.
Exactly.
I'm failing as a mom. I think I told you this moment. So I'm like, Elvie, I'm like, I don't know. Like,
I need to skate. I'm coming to your house. Got it. Bringing out the wine.
I'm like, yeah, and just like I said, voicing it and doing all those things, And in my experience with the Lord is, I need to focus my mind, my heart, and trust Him. He already won the victory. If you guys know me, you know how I feel about everything that's going on right now with the government and all these mandates and all this crap. And, I went through that emotion when I was angry. And then I was just blasting it all over my social media.
Not to vent on social media. I've been guilty of it. But yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh.
No, but it's true, because I've said mean things too before because of emotion. People say, do not make permanent decisions on temporary emotions.
Yes.
Whew. If I learned that a long time ago, I probably would have, not hurt people's feelings really bad. Even my own, like, reflecting on how mean it is, because it's so important. Words are forever. I don't care what people say. It's like, people will remember how you made them feel. So apologizing to anybody I may feel bad. So I'm sorry.
Oh, baby girl.
Baby steps. That's very important. It's how you start your day as well. Coping with things is how you start your day. If you start on a bad foot, you have to do it in a good way, whether it's how you feel like the shower is cleansing you and you're coming in to clean, waking up, thanking, gratitude. Thank you, God, for letting me wake up on this day. Many people don't have that, and helping someone else. If you can make someone else's day, do so. Yes. You just don't know. I'm telling you.
Morning.
Yes. Opening the door, holding the door for someone open. Yes. I know there's like a little trend right now where people buy the person's next coffee, or let me get the gas. Somebody get me the gas, because
please, where are they? Let me tell you where I'm gonna be at.
Yes.
8 o'clock.
But it's so important. It's to start in a good way so that you can bring it in. Because it is a lot of negativity. It's important to be aware of what's going on, not be oblivious, but also bring positivity. Whether you hike, what are you doing to bring positivity into your life? And that's so important. Whether you join a book club, I just joined a book club with people, with women who share kind of the same things that I do. And again, it's important. New women that I don't know, one I do, but I think like that's how you venture out, especially if you're an introvert and you're kind of shy. Start with groups. You're there for the same thing. And that's how you start.
Yeah. And you know what? I was very, I think I'm still working on that, like when I try to, like, I go to the negative, like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Like, oh, what are these things? But honestly, that used to be me waking up dreading the day, and they say that the first 20 minutes when you wake up, it sets the mood for the rest of the day.
That's why you can't go straight into working. You really need your time with you and God. Just to collect yourself and then go out to the world.
And the gratitude, the Thanksgiving, and that's something that I had to learn as a grown up. Porque es cierto, like even dreading the alarm, like snooze, I'm like, oh, hey, like here comes another day. Like, what's going to happen today? Look around, you guys. Look. Trust me, there's at least one person that loves you, that cares about you, and you think that you're alone. You're not.
You're not alone.
You're not alone, you know. So like your attitude, like with the gratitude, and just appreciating those little things that like others, like you say, even a stranger. I've had, what's crazy? I was leaving the office, and then a saber qué cara yo tenía, I must have been looking like really sad. I don't know. But this stranger he's like, hey, he goes like, everything's going to be okay. I don't know why I feel like I gotta tell you this. He goes, but it's okay. You got this. Everything is gonna be okay. And he like walked away. And I was like, oh, like, Lord, that has to be you. Like, I never saw him again. I never saw him in the building before that. So, but you know what? So you could be a blessing to somebody else, even though you're a stranger to them. You know, they cut you off in the traffic. Wish them well. Don't get mad.
No, don't
Not
get even. It's too much effort to get angry. Too much of that. Just vaya con Dios. Vaya con Dios. You know.
And there's too many crazies out there. Like, you don't even know.
Lately, yes, there has been.
Yo soy bien miedosa para eso. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just avoid. Like, just let them go. Breathe. And let's just sing.
And then also finding new hobbies, new things to do, learn something new. Just 2 days ago, I learned how to play Chinese checkers. It is so strategic, and it helped my brain. My friend's mom's like, you're really good at that. It's probably what you do. And I was like, probably. She's like, it's all about not just moving one time. It's about thinking about three moves ahead and get all your balls from one side to the other in less amount. I was like, wow. And she's like, you learn pretty quick. So again, you can always learn something new, and it'll help you out. Or listen.
Volunteering, you know, like doing something for others, you know, like that could bring, you know, like, you know what, like, I'm really good at this.
There's so much to do out there in the community.
Yes.
There's going to be an episode that we do talk about communities, what's going on in the community. Shout out to Elvira Zamora. She is doing Chicano Elegance on February 18th for a good cause. And again, there's something for everything out there. There's programs. Yes. Just talk to someone knows someone that knows somebody that can help you out. You know, that's something I didn't realize, that this government does have a lot of things to help you out. And there's a lot of resources, especially in the community, in the land community, in every community. You just have to ask someone, and don't be embarrassed. Don't be shy, you know, and if you know someone who knows someone, guide them in the right direction.
Well, they have hotlines too, right? Mm-hmm. Like, even like, you know, suicide, like calls and things like that. Like, wow, like that's very impactful, you know, to be able to even, you know, like maybe encourage someone, you know, like don't go, because so many people, and I'm telling you, it's really concerning right now because of the youth, you know, what they're seeing, comparing, you know, that's another
volunteer
thing,
if you can be a mentor to the youth. You just trigger that. I think that's so important, because again, they don't listen to your parents. They don't listen to the uncle. If you can be a mentor to the youth right now and help them better themselves, please do so, because they need it. You know, they coming out of the pandemic, some of them have been living through that, and it's still going through that. So now it's, how do I go out to the world, you know? If you can do that, please do so. That will really help, because they'll help them cope with what they couldn't control, you know?
Yes. So we hope you guys enjoy this episode. I know there was plenty to say. We are going to have a part 2. You know, it's something that goes hand in hand with this a little bit. And again, you know, just a reminder that Jesus loves you. You're not alone. Don't lose hope, and look for the light. And if, you know, if there's no light around you, then please, you know, find a way to get out of that, because you were not born to die in the darkness.
And if you know someone or a good resource, please put it on the link below so that others can use it. This is the point of this podcast, is to help and resource. If you want something that for us to talk about, also put it on the comments. We are definitely want to go out into the community and also bring in guests that are professionals and can talk about different things that we already talked about. So again, thank you so much, and continue to come to our podcast.
Yes, share our page, follow us on Instagram. Let me tell you podcast.
Let me tell you. Have a good one.
Bye.